So taking that cross-legged position that feels nice and comfortable, you're just going to draw the shoulder blades down and back, root down into that ground with your sits bones and elongate the back of the neck, growing nice and tall. And begin to slow the breath by taking some nice long inhalations through the nose, filling up that belly. And then exhale, releasing through the mouth. And as you begin to deepen your breath, try to make your exhalation just a little bit longer than your inhalation. So breathing into a count of 3, and then exhaling to a count of 5. And the option's yours to keep your eyes closed. We're just going to take some head circles. So drawing the right ear to right shoulder, taking the gaze upward, drawing left ear to left shoulder, and then chin to chest. Going at your own pace, being kind to your neck. And then go ahead and flip the other direction, taking your circles to the left. Noticing if there's any spots of tension in the neck that maybe you could hang out in for a second. And then coming back through center, taking your gaze over that right shoulder and then through center over the left. And just alternating between those two, getting some rotation in the neck. And bringing your head back through center, you're going to take your right hand reaching up and overhead to the left ear, drawing that right ear down to the right shoulder. Releasing that left shoulder away from the ear. Maybe you want to reach those fingertips down to the floor. Maybe you walk your fingers to the back of your head to pull the nose down toward that right shoulder. Stretching those upper traps. Gently releasing the head, bringing the right hand down. Taking left hand up and over to draw the left ear down to the left shoulder. Softening that right shoulder away from the ear. Walking those fingers to the back of the head, gently pulling that nose down toward the left shoulder. Stretching the upper traps and elevator scap. Those are the muscles that raise the shoulder blades up to the ears. They love to create a nice stress response and tighten up. And then releasing that head back through center. I'm just going to take your fingers, lace them together, press the palms down toward the floor, and then as you inhale, lifting the arms up so that the palms face the sky. And then exhale, releasing the arms down by your side. Taking that a couple of times at your own pace, really trying to lift that sternum up toward the sky. Creating some extension in the mid-back, opening up those shoulders. One more here. Great job. Planting that right hand on the floor, lifting that left hand up to the sky. Go ahead and take a little side bend over to the right. And then using that core to pull you back up through center, taking that side body stretch over to the left. And then inhale, releasing, taking a little spinal twist to the right. Growing tall on your inhalation, and on your exhalation, coming into this twist gently. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, taking that twist to the left. Inhale, growing tall. And exhale, coming into that twist just a little bit more. Great job. Exhale, release, come through center. Go ahead and center your legs out nice and long in front of you. Coming into this wide-legged seated position. You're inhaling to grow tall. If you need props underneath the knees to kind of shorten the hamstrings a little bit, it's completely fine. Otherwise, drawing the toes up toward the shin. Inhale to grow tall. Exhale, begin to hinge at the hips, walking those fingertips forward. And then as you exhale, releasing into that hip hinge just a little bit, keeping that spine elongated. And then inhale, using your core to lift you back up. You're going to take the toes and turn them outward. So you're kind of turning them toward the back of the mat and then coming back up to neutral. I'm just going to take about 10 of these, warming up the external rotators of the hip. So I feel it in the back of my hips. You might have a different sensation based on where you're feeling tightness today. Great job. Drawing that left heel in toward the groin. You're going to inhale, reach the left hand up, placing the back of the right hand inside the knee. Exhale, coming into the side bend to the right. Rotating that left shoulder open. Maybe you can take your gaze up and underneath that left elbow. Using that core to pull you back up and through, go ahead and swap out your footing. Drawing those left toes up. Back of the hand comes to the inner knee. Reaching that right hand up nice and high to the sky. And then exhale, releasing. Anchoring that right hip down to the floor. Feeling that stretch in that right side body. Breathing into that rib space. Keeping that shoulder nice and open. And then inhale, using that core to pull you back up through sitting. Go ahead and take your first tabletop position here. So coming over onto the hands and knees. Hands are underneath shoulder and the knees are underneath the hips. Taking a couple of rounds of cat-cow, drawing the belly button down, taking the gaze upward. And then exhale, pressing through the hands to round the spine, taking the gaze toward the thighs. Creating some nice deliberate movement in the spine, trying to articulate the spine, really pressing that heart space up between the shoulder blades. A couple more here. And then coming back to a neutral spine, you're going to take your gaze over your right shoulder, bumping the hips to the right, and then coming back through center, bumping the hips to the left, taking your gaze over that left shoulder. Just kind of alternating between these two. And then coming back through center, placing the left hand in the center of your mat, taking the right hand up behind the head, coming into this spinal twist where you tap the elbow down to the left wrist, and then inhale, take it up. And taking a couple of repetitions on this side. Nice thoracic rotation exercise here. And then releasing that right hand back down into the center of your mat, taking the left hand up behind the head. Gonna rotate that left elbow to right wrist, and then inhale, take your gaze up and underneath that elbow. Great job. So bringing the hands back down underneath the shoulders, you're gonna take a little hip mobility sequence here where you're rocking the hips back onto the heels and then pressing it back up into your tabletop position. Feel free to enjoy a little wrist stretch here, maybe shifting the shoulders over the fingers. A couple more. Great job. Taking that right foot, you're gonna pop that out to your right side. Foot is flat on the floor, toes are pointed forward. Inhale, and as you exhale, rock back just a little bit. You won't be able to touch down to the heel. And then inhale, come up. Trying to get a nice stretch on that right inner thigh, the adductor groups. And then one more here. Great job. Coming up into your tabletop position, swapping out, left foot comes out to the side. Toes pointed forward and your foot is flat on the ground. Begin to rock back toward that heel and then back up. Great job. Coming up onto those knees in a nice tall kneeling position. You're gonna pop your right foot out to the side so that the toes and the hip is externally rotated. And then you're just shifting your weight over that ankle, feeling that opening in the underside of the hip. Taking about 5 on each side here. And somebody in the clinic once called us the Captain Morgan. That just kind of stuck. So that's what we're gonna call this one. And then go ahead and swap out. Left foot comes out to the side. You're going to shift your weight over that ankle, just rocking back and forth. Good job. Working your way back down onto those hands and knees. Really rooting through the hands, drawing that belly button up and in to create this nice flat back. You're going to raise the left hand up overhead as you kick your right heel back. Try to square off the hips and create this nice long line from the fingertip all the way to the heel. And then exhale, releasing that elbow to knee, coming into this kind of crunch position. And then exhale, release again. So you're going to take a couple of rounds of this, just alternating back and forth, trying to find that support in the abdominal muscles to keep the spine aligned. Release the left hand onto the floor, keeping that right heel up nice and long. You're going to turn the toes outward as you shift, bringing your foot out to the side. Try to keep that leg parallel with the floor, feeling that engagement in the right outer hip. Drawing it back, rotating the toes back down. You're going to take that 2 more times out to the side. Nice deliberate movement, enjoying that control. Great job. Exhale, releasing that knee back down to the floor. Sending that left heel up and back, floating that right arm up overhead. Squaring up the hips, drawing that belly button into the spine. Nice long line from fingertip to heel. Exhale, releasing that elbow to knee to round the spine. Exhale, release. Inhale, elbow to knee. Exhale, release. And release, and one more. Bringing that right hand down underneath the shoulder. Keep that left heel up nice and high. Turning the toes outward. Bringing that foot out to the side. Creating a nice long line. Engaging that left outer hip. And then floating it back, turning the toes downward. Exhale, release out to the side. Hovering. And one more. Great job. Exhale, release that knee back down to the floor, sending the hips back into your extended child's pose, walking the fingertips up nice and long. Maybe you allow the forehead to come down to the mat. Inhale, coming back up into your tabletop position. You're going to tuck those toes, and I want you to draw that belly button in. And kind of, you're lifting up from the pelvic floor muscles as well to tuck the toes and hover the knees off of your mat. Shins are parallel with the mat. Begin to slide your weight forward and backward over the hands. Inhale as you shift forward. Exhale as you come back. 2 more. Lifting those hips up and back, pressing it up into your first downward facing dog. Maybe you don't have to walk your hands out a little bit more in front of you. Curling those heels. Taking your gaze up between the hands, you're going to shift your weight over into this high plank position, sinking the weight down into the hips, pressing that heart space up between the shoulder blades, shifting it up and back into your downward facing dog. I'm going to take a couple more alternations between plank pose and downward facing dog. Maybe your heels can drop down just a little bit more as you shift the weight up and back. Lifting from that core into your downward facing dog. You're going to spread those toes out just a little bit wider than hips distance. Using that core, you're going to pull the right hand to crisscross over to tap the left shin. And then release, alternating left arm. And you're in charge here of how much activation you can draw in from that core. And one more on each side. Great job. Now you're going to walk your hands up to the feet so that you're coming into this forward fold position, softly bending those knees, allowing the belly to rest between the thighs. Grabbing opposite arm to opposite elbow, begin to sway from side to side. Let that head become heavy, shoulder blades fall away from the rib cage. Allow gravity to create some traction in the spine. Releasing those hands down to the floor. Begin to roll it up vertebrae by vertebrae so that the very last thing that comes up is the head. Shoulders are heavy here. Finding your way into your mountain pose. Shoulders soften away from the ears. Head is stacked nicely on the spine. Spiraling the palms so that they face forward. Feeling that engagement in the shoulder blades. Inhale, lift those arms up. Exhale, sweep it down into your forward fold. Begin to walk the hands back out into your play position. And then inhale, use that core to pull you back up, walking the hands back up into your mountain pose. I'm going to take a couple of repetitions of these plank walkouts here. And feel free to add on a little push-up when you make your way into your plank pose. Let's do 2 more. Finding your way up into a tall mountain pose. Sweeping the arms up overhead, sinking the hips down and back. You should be able to see your toes past your knees here, drawing that belly button into the spine, creating some length in that low back. Inhale, sweep those arms up, coming up into your mountain pose. Go ahead and walk it up to the top of your mat. Planting that left foot firmly on the floor. Lifting that right foot up so that the sole of the foot comes to the inner part of the shin or the thigh for your tree pose. Finding that stability and ease, rooting down through the floor. Inhale to grow tall. Maybe your arms can come up overhead to create a little bit of a balance effort. Exhale, release that foot so that it hovers up off of your yoga mat. Maybe you want to extend that heel up so that the knee is nice and long for staff pose. Exhale, sweep the arms down, coming through, hinging at the hips into your warrior 3. Finding that stability, that balance, that ease. Square off the hips. Feeling that engagement in the left outer hip. Float the arms up overhead. And begin to bend that standing leg and then press it back up. Taking this for 5. A single leg squat. Feeling that heat building up in the thigh. Inviting those little micro corrections in the ankle. So that's what's making your balance nice and strong here. Great job. Inhale, sweep it back through. Coming back up into your staff pose. Go ahead and release that foot back down to the floor. Sweep the arms up overhead, sinking it back into your chair pose. Shifting your weight onto that left leg. Hover that right foot off of the floor. You're going to shift the weight into that front thigh as you touch the right toe toward the back of your mat. And then inhale, sweep it back up, keeping that knee bent. Exhale, release, touching the toe off to the side of your mat. So we're kind of working this transition between the quadricep in the middle and the quadricep in the very front of the thigh. Last one here. Great job. Inhale, coming back up to your standing. Go ahead and release that foot back down to the floor. Wonderful. Inhale, growing nice and tall, planting that right foot firmly on the floor. You're going to take the left foot to the inner shin or the inner thigh. Exploring this tree pose, really rooting down into the floor, engaging that right outer hip muscle so that you can grow as tall as you can here. Hands can come to heart center. Maybe noticing how much stronger you can get when you press the sole of the foot into the thigh. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Exhale, releasing that foot to come into your half staff pose, hovering the foot off the floor, or you can straighten that knee, drawing the toes up to the shin. Exhale, sweep that foot back, bringing the hands down by your side, hinging at the hips, coming into your warrior three. Finding some stability and ease here. Generating some heat in that right outer thigh. Sweep the arms overhead. An option here to bend that standing leg, pressing it back up into your warrior three for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sweep that leg forward into your staff pose, stepping that foot back down to the earth. Draw the arms up overhead, sink it back into your chair pose. Toes should be seen past the knees. Sink it down a little bit lower as you shift your weight onto that right leg. Touching the left toe off to the right side of your mat, and then coming back up into your chair pose. Exhale, release, bring those hands down, and then inhale, arms come up overhead. It's all about the transitions here. How slow and controlled can you make those transitions? Great job. Exhale, release, coming back up into standing. Softening those shoulders away from your ears, working your way into your mountain pose. Stepping that right foot back into your warrior two. Front heel bisects the arch of the back foot, allowing the front knee to bend, floating those arms up nice and long. Exhale, releasing into your reverse warrior. And then windmilling the arms so that the front elbow comes to front knee, floating that right hand up for your extended side angle, sinking down into that front thigh. Inhale, release, coming up into your warrior two, straightening that front leg, and maybe you heel toe that back foot so that you shorten your stance. Bump that right hip to the back of your mat as you shift your weight all the way forward. When you can't go anymore, that's when you take your spinal twist. Floating that right hand up to the sky for your triangle pose. Exhale, release, coming into this triangle forward fold, pivoting on the back foot. Maybe you shorten your stance again. Inhale, grow tall, creating length in the spine. Exhale, coming into that forward fold. Feet are in railroad tracks here, noticing the sensations that you feel in the back of your thigh. Should be nice and active in the core here, so it's not about how much you can hang out on the joint, but rather how supported can you be around the joint. Go ahead and softly bend that front knee, framing the hands to the foot, walking that foot back just a little bit more into your low lunge. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, sinking down a little bit more into that front thigh, lifting the kneecap, the back leg, and squeezing that glute. Go ahead and touch that back knee down to the floor, and then hover it back up. Bending that knee for 5, 4, lifting that kneecap as you straighten that back leg. Great job. Coming up into your high lunge, bring the hands down to frame the foot. Inhale, lifting that left foot up and back, coming into your high plank. Inhale, using that core to lift you up into your downward facing dog. Go ahead and pedal out those heels. Inhale, stepping that right foot up to the top of your mat. I'm going to face you guys here. Coming into your warrior two on that right side. Floating the arms up, out to the side, drawing that knee open, sinking into that front thigh. Exhale, release that back hand to the back leg for your reverse warrior. Windmilling those arms so that the front elbow comes to the front knee for your extended side angle. Inhale, floating those arms back up through your warrior two. Go ahead and straighten that front leg, heel toeing the back foot in just a little bit to shorten the stance. Bump your hips to the back of your mat as you begin to shift your weight over that front leg. When you can't go anymore, go ahead and give yourself a little spinal twist. So the back of the hand comes to the inner knee, and the left hand floats up to the sky. So release, coming back up into your triangle. Pivoting on that back foot, maybe shortening your stance just a little bit so that your feet are on railroad tracks here. Square up those hips. Inhale, grow tall, and then exhale, coming into your forward fold. Again, how active can you be in that outer right hip? And how much can you lift up out of your hip girdle to keep that length through the crown of the head? Exhale, bending that knee, taking the hands down to frame the foot, stepping that left foot back a little bit, sweeping the arms up into your high lunge. Maybe you want to take a little baby back bend here, using that core to pull you back up. Go ahead and drop that back knee down so that your knee touches the ground. And then inhale, lifting that knee back up, taking it back down again, working with the breath here. Inhaling as you come up, exhaling as you lower down. Great job. One more. Inhale, straighten that front leg. You're going to work your way out, turning the toes out into 5-pointed star. Draw those shoulders down away from the ears, drawing that belly button into the spine to stay active in the core here. Hands come down to heart center as you begin to drop the hips down, bending the knees over the ankles. Using your glutes in the underside of your thighs, coming back up into your 5-pointed star. And then alternating between these two goddess squats or goblet squats. Great job. Holding, finding this goddess pose. Maybe you take the arms up. Elbows are bent at 90 degrees here. Begin to pulse down, coming back up, down. Feeling that heat in the thighs. And last one. Go ahead and work your way back up into your 5-pointed star. Keeping your legs separated like this, if you want some yoga blocks to bring the floor up to you, we're working our way into a forward fold here. So inhale and grow tall. Exhale, hinging at the hips. Staying nice and active, nice flat back here. Exhale, bringing the hands down to the floor, working your way into this forward fold just a little bit more. Right hand comes to the center of your floor or on your block. You're going to inhale, sweep that left arm up, taking this nice spinal rotation here. Maybe feeling a nice stretch on the inner right thigh. And then exhale, release, bringing that left hand down to the center of your mat. Inhale, sweeping that right arm up overhead. And exhale, release, bringing the hand back down through center. Keeping this flat back nice and lifted, you're going to take your arms down by your side, palms facing each other. Keeping the arms parallel with the floor, go ahead and bring the palms down to the floor, bringing your arms out into this T position. And then floating the arms up overhead, thumbs rotate up to the sky for a Y position. floating back down through your T and back down to your Y or I. Taking 3 rounds of these arm floats, rotating at the shoulder joint as you reach up overhead. Feeling that strength in the back, keeping your back nice and flat. And then exhale, release those hands back down to the floor, coming into a little forward fold here. Pressing off of that back foot to come up to the top of your mat. Go ahead and softly bend those knees, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Tall mountain. Exhale, little baby back bend. Using that core to pull you back up through center. Sweeping the arms down by your side into your forward fold. Inhale, flat back, hands come up to the shins. And then exhale, release, bringing the hands back down to the floor. Stepping the right foot back and then the left foot back into your high plank. Softening those hips down to the floor. We're going to alternate bringing right elbow to right knee. Right knee to right elbow. And then sending it back out, left knee to left elbow. Send it back out. Going to take this 4 more times on each side. Finding that breath, some balance, strength. One more here. Great job. Soften those knees down to the floor. Allowing the elbows to graze the ribs as you lower down in this plank until the head can release down to the floor. Allow your hands to come underneath the shoulders as you peel the chest up off the floor, coming into your baby cobra. Squeezing those glutes. Exhale, release. Bringing that head back down to the floor. Taking a couple of rounds of this cobra and releasing. Feeling that mid-back rolling through like a wave. Good job. Coming on to that left elbow. You have the option here to keep the knees bent or have the feet out straight. Coming up into your side plank up on the elbow. Reaching that right hand up nice and high to the sky. Exhale, coming into a little twist here. Engaging that oblique on the underside. And then inhale, lift it back up. Taking that 3 more times. Again, it's all about what you put into that muscle contraction. You're squeezing to lift. And then get the most out of it. Great job. Release, coming over onto that right side. Bringing that right elbow underneath the right shoulder, palm faces the floor. Stacking one foot on top of each other. Sending the hips up nice and high. Inhale, float that left arm up. And then exhale, release, coming into that little twist. You're lifting those hips up gently to engage that oblique a little bit more. And last one here. Good job. Come on up to a seat. Extending those legs out nice and long. Drawing the toes up toward the shins. You're going to inhale, grow tall. Slowing your heart rate. Slowing that breath. Exhale, release, coming into a forward fold, hinging at the hips. Maybe your hands can grab the back of the calves, the ankles, or underneath the toes. Staying active in this pose, drawing those shoulders down and back. Pressing the chest through the shoulders. Inhale, use that core to pull you back up. Taking that left knee, bending that, hugging that into your body. You're going to draw the right toes up toward the shin. As you hover that right foot off of the floor, you're going to draw little circles clockwise for 10. Keeping tall, not allowing your torso to rock back. And then reverse. Good job. And then releasing that foot back down to the floor, you're going to alternate, sending that left leg out nice and long, hugging the knee into your chest. Drawing the toes up toward your shin, hovering that left foot off of the floor, drawing circles clockwise for 10. And then release, going the opposite direction for 10. Really getting into the psoas muscles and psoas hip flexor strengthening here. And then gently release that foot back down to the floor. Go ahead and float your feet up off of the floor so that shins are parallel with the mat. Drawing shoulder blades down and back so you go tall, bringing those arms out to your side for both pose. Option here to lift one leg or both legs. We're going to exhale, lower, 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 down to the floor. Invite that shake, holding, and then releasing it back up into your boat pose. I'm going to take that one more time. Exhale, release, holding, inviting that shake, hovering off the floor. And then inhale, release, coming back up. Go ahead and lower those feet down to the floor, and then lowering the upper body as slowly as you can to meet your mat. Great job. Releasing the hands down by your side, walking the heels up toward your hips. You're going to inhale, float those hips up off of your mat. Allowing the hands to lace underneath your hips. Begin to walk your shoulders back under your heart space to create this openness across the chest. Maybe you need to walk your heels back just a little bit, pressing up even higher. Staying in this bridge pose, you're going to release your hands, bringing them back down to the side. Go ahead and lift your toes up off of the floor so that your heels are digging into the ground. Go ahead and walk your heels out away from you and then back up. Again, really getting into those upper hamstrings. Continue squeezing the glutes to lift the hips up to the sky. And last, walk out. Good job. Releasing down vertebrae by vertebrae, using the core to articulate the spine, as your tailbone is the very last thing that comes down to the earth. Taking your feet nice and wide to the sides of your mat, send the arms out to the side. Begin to windshield wipe the knees from side to side. Inhale, crossing the left leg over the right knee. Go ahead and drop that left foot down toward the outer edge of your mat on the right side. Taking your gaze down the left arm. Anchoring that left shoulder down to the floor. Inhale, using that core to lift you up and out of this twist. Releasing that left foot down to the floor, crossing the right foot over. Go ahead and gently lower that right foot down to the left side. Maybe taking your gaze down the right arm to create this spinal twist. Inhale, breathing deeply into areas of tension. Using that core to pull you back up and out of that twist. Release those feet down to the floor. Taking any other pose that you feel like your body might need at this time. Maybe grabbing the back of the knee, and allowing the foot to float up to the sky for a little hamstring stretch. Or maybe you want to take happy baby pose here. Letting the feet come up to the sky, soles of the feet shining high. Bending those knees, pulling the shins down toward the floor. Maybe you can grab the outer edges of your feet and glue the shoulders down to your mat. Allowing the tailbone to become flush with the mat. Opening up the hips. Finding a little play here, rocking from side to side. And then that massage in the low back. And then exhale, release those feet down to the floor. Again, taking any other posture that your body might need. And eventually allowing your feet to extend out nice and long and let them fall open to the sides of your mat. Let your shoulders sink down into the floor and your palms face up to the sky, allowing the fingers to curl softly. Go ahead and close your eyes. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. Allow your attention to be smooth, slow, and serene. The exhale is cleansing and relaxing, and the inhale is nourishing and energizing. Turn your attention inward, mentally scanning your body from head to toe and back again. Pausing briefly to become aware of any areas and release any tension that you feel in those areas. When you discover those areas of tension, imagine sending the breath to that particular part of the body and honor those areas that need a little extra healing. Let the whole body be soft, heavy, and easy. Let it feel like you're melting into the earth below. Relax everywhere, letting your eyes fall backward, away from the eyelids, your tongue lightly resting on the roof of your mouth. With each exhalation, feel the tension leaving your body, releasing all of the body's toxins, waste, and negative energy. Make your inhalation deep, soothing, and peaceful. Notice how when you relax and expand, every tension disappears. Relax the crown of your head, your forehead, and the space between the eyebrows. Soften the temples and jaw, your neck and throat center. Relax from the shoulder joints to the elbows, to the wrists and fingertips. Loosen the shoulder blades with every exhalation. Relax the chest, the belly, and the low back. Let go over and over again through the breath. Softening the hips in and around the hip sockets. And breathe all the way down to the thighs, knees, calves, ankles, feet, and the toes. Continue releasing with your breath, exhaling as though you're breathing from the top of the head down to the tips of the toes. And then inhale it as though you're breathing from the tips of the toes up to the top of the head. And now it's just you and your mind. Completely detach yourself from your thoughts and receive the serenity of the pose and the flow of the movement. And feel free to remain here as long as you wish. And otherwise, you can begin to make little movements with your fingers and your toes. Keeping the eyes closed softly. Rolling over onto your right side. Using that top hand to push you up into your seated pose. Sitting tall. Feeling happy and energetic. Be grateful for what you have just experienced and notice your tranquil state of mind. Be grateful for what you've just experienced and don't let it end there. Try to take this feeling with you as you move through your day with joy, serenity, and kindness. And thank you.